Basketball, the game where you and your pals grab the orange orb and hoop it up on the court with your dribbles and alley-ups and such. I'm clearly not well versed in the ways of basketball, but I know enough about it and about gaming to have a deep look at this surprisingly fun and free-to-play 3on3 basketball game. So let's hookshot this review all the way from Midtown. Nothing but swish. Welcome to Random Game Reviews. I put every game in the PlayStation Store into a spreadsheet and use a random number generator to assign me the games I play and review. This time, the RNG desires 3on3 Freestyle. Three on 3 Freestyle is not your typical basketball game. It's styled after half-court pickup basketball. Teams take turns on offense and have to switch to defense after they get a basket. If you manage to steal, pick up a rebound, or grab a loose ball, you need to get the ball outside the three-point line before your team can shoot. 3on3 also sets itself apart by being a free-to-play game. You're familiar with the model by now. You don't have to fork over any cash unless you want to unlock premium players, wacky costumes, or fast-track your stat boosts. Additionally, 3on3 has a weird amount of anime-esque character backstory that you can experience on the official YouTube channel, because everybody knows that what you need for a good basketball game is deep lore and backstory. If you're new to this channel and also a massive basketball fan, you might be disappointed that some nerd with a film degree is doing this analysis. But you're in luck, because I've invited sports gaming YouTuber and basketball aficionado Game Day to feature on this review. Watch for him later in the video. This is the first basketball game I've played since NBA Street 2 for PS2, so I didn't step into this with any central strategy in mind. Instead, I spent my free character token on Helena, purely because she sorta looks like my wife, who has never held a basketball in her life. I also like Helena because she pops up on your screen and shouts things at you with questionable English skills. The developer is based in South Korea and gets a pass for imperfect English translation. The first thing you'll run up against is a really intimidating set of menus. There's a lot going on here, but for now you should ignore everything except play. Hopping into training is a good place to start. There, you can hone your skills with this horrifying rabbit man. He may or may not teach you about stealing the ball. I think that training module might be broken. Once you've graduated from the Rabbit Man Institute for Remedial B-Balling, you can jump into a game. There's an option for 1v1 where you control all three players on your team, but I found the real fun was in 3v3, where you and two strangers take it to the hoop against three other strangers. A lot of how fun this game is depends on who you get matched up with. When you find other sophisticated gamers who do things like pass the ball and employ strategy, 3on3 is a wildly satisfying game to play, using teamwork to run up the score against whatever jabronis found themselves in your path. It's less sublime when you get matched up with a couple of dumb ball hogs who wouldn't pass even if the game depended on it and you had mere seconds left to tie it up and take it to overtime. I'm not mad. Regardless, game to game, 3on3 is pretty fun and easy to get into. As long as you can figure out how to shoot, pass, and block, you can stumble your way through a few matches. Sinking a basket always feels cool, but I love nothing more than getting a good assist. It's what I focus on in every team-based game. And thankfully, my wife, Helena, is a ball-passing machine. She can't dunk because she's little, but she's fast, wily, and has some really good pass stats and abilities to quickly unhand the ball to one of her team's more accomplished dunk masters. The actual most important thing to figure out is how to defend. Any jerk can get 2 points, but because of the back and forth nature of the game, covering passes and blocking shots is absolutely essential, as the best way to pull ahead of the other team is to force turnovers. You can unlock some special moves that get fairly silly, but since the overall atmosphere and style is pretty cartoony, I didn't find it lessened my enjoyment. If your strategy isn't working, you can call a timeout to swap your character, and if you leave a baller on the court for too long, they get fatigued and will get stat debuffs. So it's usually a good idea to swap them out at halftime, even though I never did that. I love you, Helena. The games are pretty fluid, and there's few enough people on the court that you can make space for yourself and hone your strategy. What I found made this a strong free-to-play game is that the gameplay is pretty simple on the surface, but there's tons of strategy to focus on that can turn games in your favor. You can easily get a hang of the simple stuff, but if you want to be a good teammate, you need to do the work and figure out the more complicated systems. As a relative newcomer to basketball games, I found 3on3 to be easily accessible and a great option for when you have 20 minutes to kill, since matchmaking is usually pretty quick and the games last about 5 to 6 minutes. But for an accomplished virtual baller's perspective, I'm going to pass the rock over to game day.
Basketball. One of the few things I can associate with America that's not Ford trucks, apple pie, or obesity.
Damn, boy, he's sick, boy!
3on3 Freestyle Basketball tries to bring the sport into a more free-to-play friendly atmosphere. But does it succeed as a good basketball game? Well, the game tries to dumb everything down. The game makes use of only a small amount of buttons on a controller, and the gameplay is really slow. I mean really slow. So slow I can throw this underwater filter on top of the video and you'd think it fit if you were none the wiser. While this can help with converting people who are unfamiliar with basketball games and or video games, but this, along with the free-to-play atmosphere, costs the game in terms of any depth. You are limited to a set number of dribbling moves with no real experimentation. You can do stuff like posting up on your opponents, but you can't even pass or shoot out of it. You can't even do a last-second pass out of a jump shot. Now technically everything I said isn't true, because certain characters have access to certain moves, like fake passes, hop steps, and boxing out. Once again, as a newcomer, this probably isn't a problem. I get that characters need to differentiate themselves from one another, but why shouldn't most characters have a fadeaway? It isn't a complex move. I mean, what kind of shooting guard can do a fadeaway jump shot? The equivalent will be playing a boxing game and selecting a character that can't throw an uppercut. Like, what is this? I've played this game in the past, and back then the 1 vs 1 mode didn't let you control all your teammates, just one specific one. That goes against any and all basketball video game fun. Like, why would you want to watch the computer play? But now, you can actually control everyone. But it's a little weird on defense. When you have the ball, pressing the X button passes the ball to another player, and then you have control over said player with the ball. The problem is on defense when you click in the left stick in order to switch to a new defensive player. So naturally, when playing, you inadvertently switch between players. We got this kind of thing right in the NES days. I don't understand why 3on3 Freestyle needs to make an Einstein project out of the damn thing. The game shines in its 3 vs 3 mode, where you and 2 other friends take on a team. Doing things like drawing the entire defense towards you with a drive and a pump fake, only to dump the ball off to an open teammate for easy points, is when the game is at a complete high point. I mean, I just crossed over a guy as a schoolgirl. That's awesome. Playing on defense is especially fun. Normally I'd hate these slower paced games like this, but in this case I can give it a pass. Because it puts much more emphasis to sticking to your man on defense and trying to break away from your man on offense. It's all about getting open or trying to find the person who's already done so. There's a solid little game here that works. Well, besides some stuff like this. Yep. This is basketball fundamentals 101 right here. I suggest playing 3on3 with some friends, and if you don't have any friends, like me, you could join one of these crews. Milky perfume? Well, I've been covered in worse.
Thanks, Game Day. There's a lot to do in 3on3 aside from playing basketball. You can adopt a pet to somehow get b-ball buffs? Maybe just the knowledge that I'm a good person for adopting my Doberman Woodle will give me the confidence to tear it up on the court. You can also eat food before a match to gain stat boosts. For instance, this quesadilla is really good for my 3-point shot. You can send your characters on odd jobs to gain items, or as the game puts it, proceed a work. There's some normal person stuff to do too, like spending $7 to buy in-game points so you can play dress up with your wife avatar, and leveling up your ballers by having them chug sports drinks and read textbooks. My biggest knock against the game is how sprawling the menus are. There are too many different ways to upgrade, from level ups to ability boosts to bonus cards to puzzle pieces. It's a lot, and it's overwhelming to look at. And every time you log in, you're absolutely bombarded with daily unlocks and limited offers to the point where you'd think there was pop-up malware on your console or PC. Also, I clicked on an expensive DLC pack and the game did not want to let me not buy it. I had to press circle to exit out about a dozen times. So to summarize, there's just too much shit going on in general. But if this seems like a game you're interested in, you can download it and spectate some of the high-level players and give it a shot yourself. At the lower competitive tiers, the monetization doesn't feel too pay to win, but that might be something that becomes more evident the deeper in you get. If nothing else, it's a quick b-ball fix that doesn't have to cost you anything. I found myself playing it even after I had captured all my footage for this episode, and that's a pretty good sign that I liked it. I think we've seen enough. Let's proceed a verdict. It's time to answer the question, would I play this game if I were not destined to do so? For 3on3 Freestyle, the answer is yes. 3on3 is a fun, light diversion that embodies the best and worst aspects of team-based online games. The game is quick to pick up, but will take a bit of time and work to master. If you don't put in the work to figure out at least the basics, the opposing team will absolutely run up the score on you. There's a good selection of characters with different abilities to match your playstyle that you can unlock without spending money. The menus would benefit from some streamlining, as I found them to be a bit intimidating for a newcomer. This is one of those quality of life issues that 3on3 only gets away with because it's a free game. Guess what? It's also time to answer the question, would Game Day play this game if I had not asked him to do so?
The answer is a very hesitant yes. 3on3 Freestyle Basketball is a very competent game, specifically with its 3on3 mode. Where the game falls apart is the free-to-play structure essentially locking moves behind other characters. And yes, I get that characters should be different, but fadeaways and box outs shouldn't be treated as these special moves. While the 3 vs 3 mode is good, the 1 vs 1 mode has control issues and lacks the other factors that the 3 vs 3 mode inherently has. If you're coming from an NBA 2K background looking for a quick My Park substitute, or even a classic arcade game fan like NBA Street, I think you'd find some fun here, but nothing that'll keep your attention for more than a couple of hours.
That does it for this episode. A big thanks to Game Day for joining me on this video. I put his channel info in the video description, so make sure to check him out. And if you're new to Random Game Reviews, maybe hit subscribe and see what else I get forced to play. Until next time, stay away from my wife Helena, and I'll see you all soon on Random Game Reviews. Thanks as always to my subscribers on Patreon. This was my first ever video collaboration, and I would only ever do them with people I like. Make sure to check out Game Day's channel and maybe hit subscribe so you get notified when I show up in one of his videos.